3 years into Western sanctions against Russia, we're examining a critical question. Are Russian sanctions working as intended? Today, we're analyzing the impact of sanctions on Russia through shadow fleet operations and the G7 oil price cap to understand the actual outcomes versus policy objectives. Russia's response to energy sanctions has been remarkable in scale. The shadow fleet has grown from less than 100 vessels in February 2022 to over 343 tankers today. Russia has invested approximately $10 billion in expanding this fleet, which now handles 70% of Russian seaborne oil exports. Notably, over 40% of new shadow fleet ships came from EU sellers, particularly Greek ship owners. This fleet consists primarily of aging vessels. 85% are over 15 years old, registered under flags of convenience from Panama, Liberia, and Marshall Islands. The G7 oil price cap, set at $60 per barrel in December 2022, aimed to reduce Russian revenues while maintaining global supply. However, when examining why sanctions on Russia haven't achieved expected results, Russian oil has averaged $64 per barrel, well above the cap. The discount to Brent crude has shrunk from $35 to less than $10 per barrel. This circumvention has generated substantial additional revenue. According to Geopolitical Monitor, the shadow fleet allowed Russia to generate about $9.4 billion in additional revenue in 2024 alone. Despite comprehensive EU sanctions, Moscow's oil revenues actually increased 5% from 2023, reaching approximately $16.4 billion monthly. Russia has successfully redirected energy exports toward Asian markets. India overtook China as Russia's top oil buyer in July 2024, importing a record 2.07 million barrels per day, accounting for 44% of India's total oil imports. India's purchases of Russian oil grew to around $140 billion in the 2023-2024 fiscal year, a 56-fold increase over pre-invasion levels. China maintains significant imports at 2.44 million barrels per day, demonstrating sustained demand despite Western pressure. Shadow fleet operations exploit gaps in international maritime law through sophisticated methods, turning off AIS transponders, conducting ship-to-ship transfers in open seas, and frequent changes in vessel management to avoid sanctions designation. Current enforcement faces significant challenges. Only 7 of the top 20 tankers carrying Russian crude have been sanctioned, while 23 designated tankers have returned to service after staying idle. The data reveals a complex picture suggesting that Russian sanctions are not working as originally envisioned. Thorough enforcement of the price cap would have reduced Russia's export revenues by only 8% since sanctions implementation. Meanwhile, only 34% of Russian seaborne crude is transported by tankers subject to the price cap. These findings suggest that the current international sanctions approach faces significant implementation challenges, with Russian adaptation consistently outpacing Western enforcement mechanisms, raising important questions about policy effectiveness and future strategic approaches.